Tradition doesn't mean never changing. What if we had never expanded Doak Campbell Stadium? What if we hadn't given women scholarships? What if Osceola and Renegade never let us on the field? What if we'd never put a spear on our helmet? What if we hadn't fought for our Seminole tradition? What if we had chosen to let time stand still? Our tradition has a future.
Nearly 2 years ago, Florida State approached longtime partner Nike for assistance and advice on several issues, including a need to set the visual direction for the next generation of Seminoles that respects the history of the program. Our first directive to Nike was a growing concern over the different shades of our primary color garnet that was appearing both in our official uniforms and retail products from all companies. You can see in these images the changes that have occurred to our football jersey alone over the years, and neither are the correct garnet seen in the sample bar. We supplied Nike with the recent sideline photo that shows no fewer than 5 different shades of garnet in one image alone. It should be noted that garnet is particularly difficult to achieve consistently because of the number of colors that must blend to make up the shade. So our first mission was to arrive at a garnet that matches our team color and that could be reproduced accurately across all uniforms, as well as sideline gear, coaching gear, and ultimately fan apparel. Once we determined that we wanted to look at the design of all of our uniforms, we assembled several groups, including our current athletes, for feedback. During the process, one of the answers to a question posed to representatives from each of our teams shocked us. When asked what the primary symbol for Florida State athletics is, the groups representing supporters, coaches, staff, and administration all said the Seminole head. Our athletes were unanimous in responding that they considered the spear to be the primary mark. Clearly, we had an issue with our beloved Seminole head not being as exposed as we would like it. Both athletics and Seminole boosters have recognized for some time that our Seminole head, while as recognizable and iconic as any and all of sports, does not reproduce well in a number of mediums. It is particularly difficult to embroider properly, as seen on current football game pants, and impossible to represent on some materials, including at midfield at Doak Campbell Stadium. Fan gear is especially ineffective at properly producing FSU's primary mark, to the point that it's difficult to find the logo on clothing anymore. FSU asked Nike for help in redefining the logo so that the consistency can be achieved and more exposure for the logo could be generated without diminishing the identity of the iconic image. FSU went through the proper protocol with the Seminole Tribe of Florida during this process and arrived at a design that the Seminole Tribe approved and that takes FSU athletics into the future. The third goal was that athletics wanted its teams to wear uniforms that are as technically advanced as any in college athletics. Nike's state-of-the-art uniform materials are significantly lighter, more aerodynamic, more durable, and superior in every respect to the uniforms FSU teams currently wear. Anyone could hold the current uniform from any sport in one hand and our new uniforms in the other hand and notice a very big difference in weight and quality. The possibility of continuing at a competitive disadvantage in this area was unacceptable. The fourth and final charge to Nike was specific to FSU's game uniforms. The move into these new uniforms meant that the Seminoles' current football uniforms in particular would look different even with the same design next year because of the advanced construction, which provided the transition into a more dynamic style that the football program was asking for. Athletics, along with designers and material engineers, held meetings with a number of groups from FSU representing student athletes from every sport, coaches, staff, and administration. FSU worked closely with designers to develop a look that accurately represents the excitement and tradition of today's Seminole football. In commissioning the creative changes, Florida State welcomed Nike's concept of making the uniforms even more symbolic of the relationship with the Seminole Tribe of Florida while maintaining its iconic look. The uniforms you will see in a moment are breathtaking initially and inspiring upon closer inspection. The answer to Florida State's primary request came in the identification of the garnet that will be used across all sports and applications. It is the same garnet that has been used in the coaching shirts over the last few years. The Seminole patchwork on the football jersey sleeves contained the tribe's own symbol for arrow, man on horse, and fire, and the helmet spears now cross in the back, with the X pattern representative of the crossed bars of the state flag, just to alert you to some of the elements. Florida State will be the only Nike team pro or college using this garnet as its primary color, instead of using the same shade as Alabama or Oklahoma, for instance. In addition, a unique font called Unconquered has been created, as well as uniform monograms and numbers that will be adopted across all sports. FSU debuts today a redefined Seminole head logo that retains the iconic image with renewed spark and energy. In addition, Florida State student athletes will practice and compete next year in materials engineered to provide a competitive advantage. Finally, all FSU teams will have a new look that maintains the traditions of the past while reflecting a strong, youthful, and bold attitude that will take Florida State athletics into the future and has resulted in a collection called Ignition Tradition.
Tradition doesn't mean never changing. What if we had never expanded Doak Campbell Stadium? What if we hadn't given women scholarships? What if Osceola and Renegade never let us on the field? What if we'd never put a spear on our helmet? What if we hadn't fought for our Seminole tradition? What if we had chosen to let time stand still? Our tradition has a future.